All right, welcome to Etherwaves episode 7 of season 1. We're past the halfway point and I'm Phil.
And I am Teddy.
And I'm Igor, and I am very, very happy and excited to have my good friend Derek Allen Formants on the show tonight. How's it going, Derek?
Hello. Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I just wanted to start about just talking about how we met because you were probably one of the first musicians I met in Chicago after moving here not even 2 years ago. We connected through a mutual friend, my childhood friend from Florida who lives now in Chicago. But we played a show together, and that was the last show I played before COVID. Have you played any shows since that December show?
Yeah, I think I played 2 or 3, and
Yeah,
then through February, and then after that, no.
yeah.
Been over a
So
year.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Phil and Teddy saw the show before that show. We've talked about it in other episodes, but I've played music for all of you, essentially, which is fun.
Well, we were talking about that backstage just before you signed on, Igor, but
Behind the scenes, man. Behind the scenes.
the virtual green room. I also realized I forgot to say that we discuss beer and gear and music. Um, so why don't we also start with like what's everybody drinking? You sipping on anything or Igor?
I am. I got Freebird American Pale Ale. Not sure if this is a debut on the show or not, but this is the last one on the fridge, so I might have had this one before. How about you, Derek? You drinking anything tonight?
I'm drinking like chamomile tea.
Yes,
So it was that kind of day.
absolutely. Also, I think about this sometimes. We normally debut these at like noon on a Thursday. Like we premiere these at noon on a Thursday, and like tea is like way more. Like the people watching this live when we put it out next Thursday or whatever. Like Derek, you're gonna make way more sense to everybody than we are, because like we all just look like alcoholics that are drinking beer at noon on a Thursday. Obviously, we don't record it at that time, but it's like I've been. My dad was watching it the other day, and maybe it was like I think a lot of people are kind of like, is this live? Is it not? I don't know, but like I think he was like, are you guys drinking beers at like noon during a work day? And it's like,
Yes.
and it's like, no, we're not. But I can see how it would appear that way. Like I'm like worried that my boss will like find me promoting this someday and then like see it and it'll look like it's live. And here I am just like when I'm supposed to be teaching, like da, ba, 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 da, 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 and like drinking a beer. Speaking of which, I'm drinking a beer. It's from our primary hopeful sponsor. This is our number one most important hopeful sponsor, Pipeworks, down the street from me. This is their Imperial Blood of the Unicorn. The can on this is just,
That's badass.
dude, it's just
And I love the name. That's a great name.
the Imperial. Look at the like skeleton unicorn, dude. It's tough as hell, just heavy as frick, dude.
I mean,
Uh,
That's very metal. Like that's a metal can.
yeah,
pretty metal.
and we're working with 9.5% tonight.
That is metal.
I needed some jet fuel. I'll be doing some vocals later tonight, so I needed a little liquid courage. I felt
Nice. Phil, how
yeah.
about you?
Yeah, so I'm rocking a beer from Imperial Oak Brewing called Crank It Hop, and it's got a musical theme actually. There's a little tape deck on the can, and this is located just down the street from me. Imperial Oak is in Willow Springs on the southwest side of Cook County. It's only a sixer, so can't compete with Teddy there.
No, yeah.
I'm the big dad tonight, I guess.
Yeah, speaking of Big Dad, I almost went to Corridor to get the big can. I wasn't get the big boy six pack. Derek, Teddy has a story about getting like these like the crowlers big cans.
Oh, yeah.
And getting a 6-pack of those and just like going at it. And I'm sure that's just bad memories all around, or good memories all around.
I mean, it was good, but it's something. I don't know if I'm doing that on a school night. I don't know. It's got to be summer break, dude. It's got to be spring break or summer break. Either one, dude. Maybe I'll do it then when I have like 5 days to recover from that with my old body now.
For sure.
Well, okay, so you may not be doing some day drinking, but how about some listening? You guys listening to anything good?
So can I talk about my entrance before we started recording today? I'm listening to some Fred Buscaglione, Che Bambola, great Italian singer. He is incredible and very inspiring Italian pop music. I want to say he's from the 50s, or it's got to be 50s. It doesn't say, but the tape is made in Italy. But I do have a couple of records that are not new, but I wanted to talk about. If you guys don't mind. Oh shit, there's a parking ticket. Yes, they are. That's my car, my license plate.
We'll edit that in post. We'll blank that out in post.
Nah, I show it because I fucking hate getting ticketed in Chicago. It happens all the time. This is Ceremonial Healing. It's a 3 LP record that was a Record Store Day exclusive. It's still widely available, but the musicians on this are 2 people from Sun Ra's Orchestra. That's Marshall Allen and Danny Ray Thompson. Jamie Saft, who plays keyboards for John Zorn, but he has also his solo stuff. Trevor Dunn is the bassist for Mr. Bungle. Balas Pandey, I know he's a drummer. I don't remember which project he's on, but he's on a bunch of stuff that is well known. And Roswell Rudd, I believe he's a saxophonist, and he recently passed away. This is an incredible 3 LP record that you can find for $30 on Discogs. And it's truly insane. And if you guys don't mind some friendly promotion, I love this record. It's by Jivan Lotz. I think that's how you say his name. He's a good Instagram friend from South Africa. He does a lot of like dark acoustic folk music. And I love the sticker here that says what it sounds like. It says folk songs, blue waltzes, burial hymns, related if you like Low, Nick Drake, Benoit Pillard, Talk Talk, David Thomas Broughton, or Bon Iver before that cheesy vocoder shit. So that is a great record. What about you guys? What are y'all listening to?
Well, first off, I should say I love the comment and Bon Iver before that cheesy vocoder shit. That's such an awesome like backhanded compliment. Love Bon Iver. This sounds a lot like Bon Iver. Fuck that vocoder shit that he's doing, but love Bon Iver. Like I think that's a great compliment and jab at the same time, right. Which I'm a huge fan of things like that. Things that recently came in the mail for me today, one came from California and one came from Frankfurt, Germany. I got a tape from Sile Records, Morimoto Naoki, and this is a really beautiful ambient instrumental tape. And the record label, Sile Records, I've been really getting into them. If I had infinite money, I would just snag their entire discography, their entire collection. Because the stuff that they're putting out is really beautiful. I think they describe themselves, Sile, on their like website, kind of says that they're a label for like ambient-ish electronic music, and like it says like they have a lot of stuff that feels like handmade and intimate kind of recordings, and I think that's a really beautiful way of describing this tape here. There's some guitar playing on there that is very unique, and it's not really like any guitar playing that I've ever heard. It's hard to kind of like relate it to anybody, but then there's some very light like synthesizers and some kind of nature samples, and it's just a very organic tape. It really makes me feel like it's kind of like a good stretch in the morning. Like it sounds like a good stretch in the morning, like how like yoga in the morning should feel. That's kind of the feeling that I get from that tape. And then the other one that I've really been vibing on, this has been playing on repeat a lot. This is Lion Milk. And this is an LA based artist, or California based artist, I think out of LA. And Lion Milk is like a keyboardist that this album is almost entirely kind of keyboard loops, but kind of very intentionally lo-fi, a lot of jazz influences, but in like the most relaxing, calming way possible. But then there are some kind of like dissonant moments and kind of big noisy moments at times that kind of wash together. And these two albums, I've been playing a lot of Wingspan, the board game, to these two albums, just kind of thinking about birds and flight and walking through the wilderness while sitting in my home and listening to these albums. It's been really nice, very nice music to like just sit and think too. And so I've been appreciating those moments lately. It's times to sit and think. Phil or Derek, are you guys listening to anything in particular?
Well, yeah. So funny thing about California is today I was reading about a friend of mine lives in LA near the Hollywood sign, I'll say. And I guess there's like a neighborhood over there where they found a black bear roaming around today. It's like, oh no. So I don't know if they ever caught it. Last I checked, no. So that was kind of weird. But that Lion Milk tape is great. So I second that. I do have one record that I revisited. It's not new, but it's kind of special to me. And it's this Sunrooms with the vibraphonist Jason, and I don't speak Polish. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Adasiewicz is my best guess. And this record's really great. It's got the drummer Mike Reed, who owns the jazz club Constellation, and Nate McBride on bass. And I really love this record because I moved here in 2007 from Louisville, and was actually like following my now wife Gina, and just like, yeah, we weren't together for that long, and then we moved here. She was going to school at the Art Institute, and I really loved the Chicago music scene and wanting to like get into the jazz scene, and went to like some clubs like the Velvet Lounge, and got introduced to all sorts of musicians. And Mike Reed was one of the drummers that I really fell in love with, and so that record is really, really fantastic, and it's really making me miss the Chicago jazz scene. It's like any night of the week you can go out and see amazing musicians, and those are some of the ones I really love.
Yeah, I gotta check the record out.
But yeah, Derek, you have anything good in the rotation? Or?
I've not really been listening to any cool stuff. So this band that I grew up listening to called 5 Iron Frenzy had an album come out this year. They broke up for like a long time and got back together. And their reunion albums have actually been really good. They're like I don't really like ska, but they're kind of a ska band. So I've been listening to that quite a bit. Honestly, I've been listening to the Ultra album by Depeche Mode a lot. That
Nice.
might be my favorite
Yes.
Depeche Mode album.
Yeah.
And that's been on my rotation, as well as Einstürzende Neubauten. Yeah, they just creep up for me every year. Usually I'm like fall in love with them again and start listening to all their stuff. And I just watched their it's sort of like a concert video that they did for their album Halbermensch, that was filmed in Japan, and it is bizarre. It's on YouTube. It's really amazing. Yeah.
Can someone say more on that group? Because when you said the name, I was like, never heard of that. But then I saw Phil's face just light up. Phil was like, "Oh,
Well, totally, because it's so funny because I should have mentioned this, but I took a shower. I take a shower before this show every week, and I did some Formants.
Thank you.
Is that the only shower of the week?
I mean, I'm not going to get into details about that, but I did some Formants listening in the shower, and like Einstürzen to Neubauten came to mind, and I love that band because of their use of like random materials and like non-traditional instruments, and just like making use of like, I don't know, like sheet metal and whatever's around, and they're just super creative. And when I listened to Formants in the shower, I was like, oh damn, there's some like really crazy stuff going on here. And maybe I'm like jumping the gun a little bit, but yeah, I think all of you, if you aren't familiar with Einstürzen to Neubauten, highly recommend it.
we're gonna have to put that in the description below."
No, but
For sure.
it's good stuff. It's great stuff.
Yeah, I think their older stuff is better.
Do you have a recommended album, Derek?
So my two favorites are Halbermensch. I'm probably mispronouncing their name and that album title. And Strategies Against Architecture was like this collection of like random songs that they recorded in the early 80s. I think it came out sometime in the 90s. Those are my two favorite ones.
Okay.
Have you heard the follow-up to those albums? Because I think there's like the Strategies Against Architecture 1, 2, and 3, right?
Yeah, I've never heard 2 or 3.
Yeah. Same. But yeah, they have good stuff.
Well, while Phil listened to Formants in the shower, I sat with some headphones on in my record room, and that's where I did my listening. Not that there's a contest or anything, and I think both places are amazing places to listen to Formants for many reasons. I listened to Suspension, which, if I am correct on this, that's your most recent release. Is that right, Derek?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Just, I mean, between the imagery on the cover, the experiences that you take the listener through on the album, I'm just so I have so many thoughts. Can you talk a little bit about the theme Suspension and kind of the imagery, and is there a connection? Is there a trickle down into the audio, or was it the audio kind of inspired the imagery in the title? Yeah, could you say a little bit on that?
Yeah, so the title came after all of the songs were written and done. Igor actually did the cover for that. Igor is
Yes, I did.
an awesome designer.
Wow.
Yeah, like I love how that turned out.
Yeah.
Cover. That was all
I love
Igor.
it too.
So yeah, maybe he should comment on the artwork, but because I don't think I gave him any direction on that.
Yeah, that's
Here you go.
yeah. If I can talk about the artwork on
go for
there, I think that my first like trial at doing the art, I wanted to do. There was this I would never remember her name, but there was like this Australian actress from like the 70s who was the first person to do a bungee jump naked, and that was my first like idea for Suspension. Like for some reason that picture was just like really cool to me, and that was like the first thing, but I couldn't find where like that design would fit with what I was listening to. So I just wanted that sense of like a suspended body, whether that means like tied or freedom, because both things are related. You need to be tied to something to be suspended, but you also need to be free from ground while you're suspended. And that's what like the music gives me, like this sense of tension and release. And that to me what suspension is. And that's how the cover came. And then, just doing graphic design and like lyrics and the parts that seem like almost like crossed out across the title songs. And I like it. The logo was yours. I didn't design that. That was already part of Formants. But yeah, that's how I came up with the art. And sorry if you guys didn't know that I designed it.
That
No?
picture is actually I think you showed me that bungee jumping picture. That's
Okay,
also
yeah.
a really cool picture too.
I agree. That's a great photo.
I would definitely have to agree with the concept of suspense. And I would also say, like, when I looked at the image, obviously it's a person being suspended, and I love the imagery that you just kind of explained and the thought behind it, Igor. But I would say too, like the music, all throughout the album, it has me wondering what's going to happen next in the very best way. Like it's not this, like, it's not in no way jumbled at all. Like it feels incredibly intentional, incredibly, it is this kind of like guided rapid fire experience of various emotions. I think the album really ran me through the gamut of kind of joy and fear and confusion, but also like there was moments of relaxation, and then there were moments of excitement and energy, and it like, I don't know if I've had an album, like, normally there's albums that I listen to get in a vibe, and I would say that the vibe that your album put me in was listen to me. That was the vibe, like, because it wasn't like, no, I'm not like background coffee music. I'm not like, like, it was like, listen to me and engage with me and sit with me for a moment. Sit with me, Derek, for a moment, and like allow me to kind of show you these things that I've thought and that I've felt. And I really appreciated that, like, genuine attempt and an execution. And I think, I'm not knowing the bungee jumping thing. I like, that's I mean, it's, you took risks on it, and they're really beautiful risks. And like, it's almost like someone said this to me earlier today. It's like you jumped, but knew that there was going to be a net. Like, you took this risk knowing like you had all the skill and everything to accomplish this in such a beautiful way. And I really appreciate the risks that you took on the album, because they are really enjoyable to engage with, and it gives this replay value to it that is so pure. And I could listen to it 100 times and find a new thing each time. And I have to thank you for putting something like that out there in the world, something that I can sit with and not feel alone, but feel comfortable in the isolation that we're in right now, knowing that I have something to contemplate and think about. So thank you so much for putting out that album. It's a beautiful piece of work.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
When did you release it? When was like the release for the album?
July, I think. Sometime in July. Yeah.
Okay. And how long were you, like, what was kind of the arc of working on it? Like, when you started to kind of to July, like, how long did that process take?
So I think, well, some of the songs have like bits from like, just like messing around experiments, that are a couple years old, that I just had like, audio files laying around. But I think like when everything was compiled, I think I started in like maybe January, February, somewhere in there. So it took, wow. And then I think I was done by June. So it took like 5 months.
Yeah, that's not that long to me for a record that has so much depth and complexity.
I was just about to say that just blew my mind.
Yeah, because it's not like an ambient like drone that you're literally just using like very few minimalist elements that stretch for a long period of time. There's a lot of work there for sure, but there's no need to like delve into so much like attention to detail. You're just creating an experience. When you make like those like more drony ambient songs, you can get something really good done in a shorter period of time. But a record as complex as Suspension, to me, would require a lot more time, for sure, because it's just really well put together.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I agree with that, and I would like to hear more about, like, I don't know if you want to get into some of the secrets in the kitchen here, but like one thing that really stuck out to me was how I mean, it's a brutal record in many ways, and it's noisy in a really good way. And I was even thinking about like Melt Banana. I don't know. I just happen to love Melt Banana, but you somehow managed to weave everything together in a way that like connects it all very well. Like, is that something that you're like really conscious of, or is that just an accident? Or like, I mean, it's impressive because I find myself grasping at certain moments when I'm listening, and I'm like, all right, yes, I've got this part, and then you go to something else, and it works, and it flows into the next part, and I was surprised at like how that worked, and
It's such a skill.
say a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were definitely like moments that were, accidents initially, but that, built on them. But yeah, pretty much everything was very carefully laid out. I've worked really hard at trying to, over the last decade, at trying to be sort of spontaneous, but have it be sort of connected, and just kind of letting my mind go to not necessarily adhering to any kind of format, but like just kind of letting the song take me where it wants to go, for lack of a better way to describe it. So yeah, some like the first song on the album was actually started by I was just playing around with, you can't really see it, but there's a Korg radius right here, and had this patch that I was like messing around with, and I just recorded that, and that track on the album is almost the exact same. Like I think I cut out one little part of it, and then put the two ends together, but that's pretty much exactly just from that. So some of it was born out of just kind of messing around with stuff. That's kind of a rare example though, because pretty much everything else was like totally chopped up and messed around with. But yeah.
Where are you doing a lot of your sound design on? Like, are you doing it mostly in VSTs? Are you doing it on hardware synths? Like, what kind of gear are you working with to generate a lot of these sounds? Because there is such a vast soundscape from the delicate to, like Phil said, the brutal. And it makes me, I don't play modular synths, but it makes me think of kind of the extreme variance that you can get to so quickly on a modular rig. But I'm wondering what type of kind of instruments did you use to develop the sounds that you made on the record?
So yeah, I mean, I could go very in depth here. So I have a one small rack of modular stuff. I don't use it too often. I've talked to Igor about this. Modular just doesn't, like, I know how to use a lot of stuff, but I just don't feel that creative when I'm using it. I'm always super impressed with like the stuff Igor shows me. I just can't think that way when I'm patching stuff. So I also have an MS-20 here on my desk that you also can't see. So that's like all of the low end stuff. There is some of the more brutal sounds are the MS-20. There's some, I have a Korg radius here that's mostly used. I think on that album, I only used it for like pad kind of things. And then I have a Dave Smith poly evolver right below it. And that is like all of like the nice kind of 80s synth sounds are that. For everything else, pretty much field recordings. Like a lot of the more brutal sounding stuff. I know I had some recordings of like pots and pans. And I've had just recordings of various things. The first song is actually this cassette tape that my dad had found that actually kind of was last January, I think. And it's this cassette of me like as a baby crying. And I mean, I was like a month or two old. And that's where all those samples from. Pretty much that whole first song, outside of the one synth, is built from different snippets of that recording.
That's awesome.
And I think there's like my mom's in it a little bit too. So there's that. There's also one of the songs has, I will use, and I'll actually do this when I play later. I have like a CD turntable, and I won't say what albums, but I will take different albums and mess with them and play with them and stuff. And then sample that, chop it up. There's one song that has a guitar, and that is me playing in my parents' bathroom, like with a field recorder in different areas, and then processing it. And I think actually I used modular to process it. Yeah, but pretty much my whole process is recording stuff, grabbing tiny little things, and then chopping it to death, and then rearranging it and going from there.
Yeah, and if I can say something, I think you are an incredibly skilled sound designer, because I know we're working on a piece of music together, well, a record together, and everything that you're doing sound design wise on that thing just blows my mind every time you send me, oh, I did this little thing, and I'm just like, how? What's going on here? But you're also an amazing musician as a guitar player. Can you talk a little bit about lower automation as well?
Sure. Well, thank you. Yeah, so Lower Automation is like my kind of punk math noise rock band. So yeah, we started like 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago now. Yeah, so I feel very like I compose kind of when I'm doing Formants stuff or Lower Automation stuff, it feels like I'm doing the same thing, just different limitations. One of my goals for Formants albums is that I don't use my guitar, because that's how I grew up as a guitarist. So, I've been playing since I was 7 or 8. So it's fun to try to not use it. Lower Automation, I try not to use synths or anything. It does come up a little bit, but trying to do more experimental things with like a 3-piece, rock band. I think definitely that experience has definitely influenced like my solo stuff and all the noise stuff I do. Which was was like sort of my first love, was weird sounds and industrial music. So it's been kind of fun to get back into that after being away from it for a few years.
Yeah, you just recorded the next Lower Automation album, right? That's done. Yep. Right?
Yeah, we recorded it in a cabin in Michigan in the summer with no air conditioning. So that was a good time.
When do you think it's going to come out?
I believe July.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the plan right now.
That latest single, was it called? Father Shirt is Addressing Me. Is that going to be on the album, or is that a separate single?
Oh, no, that's one of the songs from the album. So that song wasn't recorded in the cabin. We just like remixed it a little bit.
Cool. Yeah.
Are you kind of pedal heavy in this band? And like do you like what's your signal chain for your guitar setup?
So for this album that we recorded, there's not a whole lot of effects. The main effect that I use is the Electro Harmonics Memory Man with Hazard, I think it's called, the digital one. I love that pedal. I use it for like ring mods and different kind of reverse things. If I had to choose one pedal to play a set with, it would be that one, because there's songs that we have that I can't play without it. Other than that, though, I don't use anything too crazy, like flanger, phaser. I have a Boss delay pedal, and then I have I just swapped it out, but I have a 4MS noise swash before they made Eurorack stuff, they were making pedals mostly.
Yeah.
So this pedal is like, I don't know, 12, 13 years old. It's like a self-oscillating fuzz. So I use that quite a bit. And I've had different like ring mods and stuff. Various things kind of pop in and out. Right now I have the Red Panda Tensor on my board. And I did use that on the album too for some like kind of stuttery things.
Nice. Very cool. When you were saying like if I could have one pedal to play live with, it would be that one. That just made me think of like a question to kind of pose to the group, which is with our current setups that we're going to perform, like with the gear that is within reach right now, your kind of like electronic gear. If you had to pick one thing to try to build a set around, like you get one of your instruments to try to build a set around or to try to collaborate with, what would you guys grab? Is that a hard, I feel like that's probably a pretty challenging question, but I don't know.
I think I would just go with the Moog Grandmother because I'm really comfortable with it. I know it, and it's flexible. It's got the whole package, filter, envelopes.
Sorry, guys, you heard that noise. That was me.
Yeah, no.
So your Moog Grandmother, Phil?
The Moog Grandmother, yeah.
So we're creating a 4-piece electronic band, and we're all bringing our one item to the table. Igor, what are you bringing to the table? Phil's bringing Moog Grandmother.
This bad boy. We're gonna be a full like 80s, a bunch of keyboards because I'm bringing the Juno. So
okay,
but that's not a mono synth, so I'm doing the 80s pads.
Okay. Igor's holding down the pads. Would Phil be doing like a drone or a motif of sorts?
Leader bass.
Phil is doing lead or bass. Okay, got it. Derek, what are you bringing to the table? If you could bring one instrument to,
I'd probably bring my poly evolver.
Nice.
So we'd have two people doing 80s chord.
Yes.
80s pads. Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe I'll be the.
We need a beat, Teddy. We need a beat.
Yeah. Well, I guess but I don't like being just the drummer. Like I spent all of my life being just a drummer. Which that's not to shit on drummers. Like I love drumming. That was a sweet flash of your photo there, Phil.
Yes, it was. That was great.
I have to address it.
I actually meant to hit unmute so I could say that the Moog Grandmother has a noise knob, and you can do like little hi-hat kind of stuff. So
okay, so we can have two drummers in the band then.
Double high.
Yeah, I just feel like I just got pigeonholed into being a drummer when I've always been a drummer and playing synth. I escaped drumming. But that being said, I think I'd bring my Novation circuit to the table because of the ability to sample as well as to have some synth voices and kind of ambience and weird things as well.
We're almost an 80s band.
Almost.
We're going to have some modern sounds from Teddy.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. Get 4 of us in a room and just play 80s shit, and
we could all MIDI. We just MIDI sync. I got a quadra through. We can get that MIDI Solutions quadra through going. We're all MIDI synced. Everybody could just get their ARPs going crazy.
Sure. Speaking of ARPs, should I arpeggiate my set? Is it too early? Is it too late? What we're doing,
dude? Let's just get it and go, and let's do it. I love the idea. Let's hear some Igor tonight.
I feel like arpeggiating some shit.
What a fucking shot of espresso that was. Damn.
Ending was so good.
Damn, dude, this is so much fun. Just watching Igor perform is so much fucking fun. Oh, man.
That was fun. The one thing that I'm going to say before I hear you all talk about your thoughts about this piece of shit is I love that I don't have to do like Wounds music on this show. It's just like, I want to have fun with my modular, and that's what I'm doing.
That's what it's about, man. Just like, more behind the scenes, the virtual green room. Before you got on here today, we were talking to Derek just about like how this all started, how it was like, yeah, we all just wanted to drink a beer and like talk about shit and see what one another's doing musically and like where our heads are at, and not necessarily with a project that or with a moniker that we go by, but just kind of like, what gear are you messing with? What does it sound like? Where's your head at? And I love the multifaceted Igor, because I see you express so many different things, and
they all suck.
Oh, cutting that out, poop.
Except my project with Derek, that one is amazing.
Only because of the stuff you're doing.
But no, man, like I loved all of that. Like you just kept on building and building and building and building and building and building. And then there was this like crash, which like gave me this release. And then you immediately came back with it. And I think you may hold the record for the longest buildup. On
the
Etherwaves
track.
Yeah. And I loved it. I loved every part of it. And like I said, it was this shot of espresso that is just giving me energy right now. And I know everybody's probably got things to chime in on. I'm curious, what was your favorite part of that performance? What was your favorite tweak? What was your favorite introduction? What part of that performance brought you the most joy that like you executed it?
That's a great question, because I love knobs and I like turning them. So the one thing that I did is that I created a sequence thing within Hermod that's always doing, it's not an arpeggiator per se, but it's always doing like that rise. But I choose the root note with a knob. And that's why it gave like that feeling of a buildup. It's because I was like, you going higher or lower, whatever on the main root note. It's all quantized, whatever. But I had a manual control of where that arpeggio was going to go, and I was controlling both arpeggios the same way, but different notes. So they were all related and they all had different rhythms. So that was fun to build, and it's a lot of fun to turn the knob and magic happens. So that's a lot of fun. And I love swishes. I do swishes on most every show. Playing with swishes is fun. Noise into filter into reverb is one of my favorite things ever. So
yeah, there was this controlled chaos that I really enjoyed. Yeah, it was great. I'm sure I'm bogarting time as I always do. I need to shush. So yeah, somebody else go.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you saw my comments in the chat about Wagner, but Teddy kind of already said it, this idea of building tension. Like, I really do think you did that, albeit in a more espresso way. I mean, it wasn't until you talked about espresso shots that I was like, oh yeah, this is a little bit like cranked up. This isn't Wagner. This isn't like Tristan and Isolde like coming together or whatever, but this is very different. But like one of the things that I really liked, you talked about knob turning. I'm terrified of like turning knobs during performances, because I'm like, I'm going to do some shit with like maths or something where it's like going to completely alter everything, or like make someone go deaf, or I mean, I don't know, like just put out something terrible. So I love that you do that and you're really interactive, but you have this like plucky conversation going with like two plucky voices that seem to be talking to one another. Was that like the two Igors duking it out?
Yeah, that was the two STOs, and that's where I'm saying where they were both arpeggiated almost, where I select the root note of each, and they do have different rhythms. One is in 3/4, the other is 4/4, but it's keeping a beat, so they do have that kind of a almost like one interact with another. They're in the same clock, same tempo. Fun fact: this is my fastest BPM yet at 180. So that's fun. But
You
yeah,
got to get up.
that's
You got to get up to 270 next, dude. You got to get up to 270
faster.
next. I was flexing on 270 the
All
other.
right.
So I think you have the longest buildup. I might have the highest BPM right now.
I think so. Derek, what do you think?
That was awesome, dude. Yeah, I was surprised when there were drums. I'm not always used to hearing what you do, or hearing your stuff with drums and stuff. But it fit really nicely. And then I think because you said one thing was in 3/4 and the other, so you have that polymeter thing going on. The drums didn't actually hit where I thought they were going to, and I love when that happens. My two favorite parts were, it's a tie, but I loved when you went into that the softer part. It was sort of like a drone, but like not that long, right? It was just like the perfect amount of time to get like a teaser, and then bam, you're like back in it. And I love the ending. Like everything was just sort of, it was sort of like not like a computer crash, but something. Crash isn't the right word, but that kind of feeling. But it wasn't as urgent. It was like sort of decaying.
It was almost like powering down, or just kind of like fatigue, like right, and which I think makes sense. Like the song felt like a sprint or like a fight. Like it was almost like it makes me think of this book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, and it makes me think about like, you started us off with this like zebra sitting in in the wild and kind of like looking around, and this kind of like ominous music, and then all of a sudden it like spots the lion, and it's like, what's going on here, dude? Are you gonna try to eat me? And then like it got up and there was this chase, and they're running at different speeds and going different directions, but there is a rhythm and there's a pattern to it. There's a chase and there's a follow, there's a leader and there's a chaser, and there's aggression in it, but there's also grace and kind of I don't know, just kind of this like genetic makeup that just makes things happen. And then there was this moment of like escape, but then it was like, oh, I'm not out of it yet. No, I'm not out of it yet. And I don't know what the ending was. Was the ending the lion was exhausted, but it caught the zebra, and it was feasting on the zebra? Was it victorious for the lion, or was it victorious for the zebra? Did the zebra get away, and now the zebra is in a nice shady area and it's relaxing, feeling safe? What happened there?
I root for the zebra every time. Whenever I watch those Animal Planet or Discovery Channel animals in the wild, I'm always rooting for the little guy, hoping that they have that epic escape from the lion. So I'm gonna root for the zebra on this one, Teddy.
So that's what it sounds like when a zebra gets away and gets some safe rest. Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah, and if I can just add one more thing before we move into other sets. All of us work with delays. I think my favorite thing to do with delays is stop the clock have a clock delay and stop the clock during sets, because that's what gives that kind of like computer breakdown feeling. It's trying to find the next step and it doesn't, and it skips later and later every time. And because it's a delay, it's also lowering pitch. So some delays don't do that. You got to, most digital delays, they try to compensate for the pitch drop. But Echophone does that, and that's my favorite delay. Right next to Mimiphone, they're both developed by the same person, so in the same company. So slow down delays or break the delay clocks. Skip a step during delays. It's on clock, but if you skip a step, it does something crazy every time. I'm a fan of fucking with delays.
That is such a good idea. I would have never thought to do that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Hell yeah.
I know you said you wanted to move on, but one last question for you, Igor. The opening part sounded like almost like a pipe organ or something. And what was that? Simple question.
That was chord, qubit chord. On the last setting, it is an organ sound. I mentioned before how chord I like to not use the internal quantization and send 4 voices to it. I did not do that this time. I'm using its internal quantization, just keeping it in. It's a minor chord of sorts. It might be C minor, Phil, actually.
Oh, not F sharp minor?
No, it's not F sharp minor, but it might be C
Phil
minor.
loves F sharp minor.
I know he does.
Derek,
But
what are
he
your
did
thoughts
let
on
C
F?
minor last time.
What are your thoughts on F sharp minor, Derek?
I think I do like F sharp minor, but I'm pretty sure I remember the first time I ever wrote something in F sharp minor, and was surprised by it because it's not a super, I don't play in F sharp minor very often, right? So it's kind of like exploratory and like childlike, I guess, in some ways. Like it's just kind of fun to mess around with it.
Yeah, because we get a couple of like sharps there, like the C sharp, the G sharp, and the F sharp, and everything else is a Y keys. I think there's a little bit of a I don't know, like it's a little, it might be a little awkward on the fingering for playing on the keys. But I do enjoy my C minor on the keyboard, and I do enjoy my D major / B minor on the keyboard. Those are pretty comfortable to play if I'm playing keys.
Well, I could have listened to you playing with that qubit chord all night long.
That's going to be my next set. 1 module.
Hell yeah. Well, speaking of sets, we got 3 more sets to get through, and our special guest, Derek Allen, Formants, is here tonight, and yeah, so stoked to hear the set. Derek, what do you say? You want to go for it?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, hell yeah. All right.
All right, we're back.
Derek
Yep.
is back with us. Formants is back with us. And what a set we all just experienced. We all just lived through. I don't want to start the conversation here because I started the last one here. Igor, Phil, do either of you guys want to jump in first here?
Can I go?
All right, Phil. Yes, Phil.
Well, I mean, just as a general starting point, I think something I wanted to say about this piece and your music in general is for me, that was an incredibly visual experience. And since I didn't know what was going to happen, I tried to really just embrace that aspect of what you were doing. And I don't know, maybe that's just like a personal thing. I don't know if other people felt that way, but I was instantly like in my own film. Teddy used the term mind transporting, is something like that, when we were chatting. And yeah, I was totally like put in this visual space that was completely bizarre, like MC Escher, you know, defying the laws of physics kind of stuff, and really enjoying being away from kind of the Newtonian world of physics, like. And I enjoyed that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to me it's just it goes back to, again, seeing you perform, pretty much staying in touch with you, sometimes even daily talking to you online, and keeping from that. It's your sound design always impresses me a lot, but it tells a story too. Like that whole set told a story. The sudden shifts, the sudden from loud to quiet, the changes, the stretching of sound, all those things just like put together like this really like bizarre puzzle. Like I think it's like a 6D puzzle that you create with music, and it's at the same time it's like super engaging. It's not just weird. Like you there's attention grabbers. There's like a beat that happens, and then that beat gets slowed down and stretched, and then there's like this beautiful like orchestral, I guess, string, but also synthesized that at one point it sounded like it was going to like a vocal or something. It was just like getting like destroyed as it played, but started beautiful, and then you see that sound disintegrate, and all those things happen in fractions of time. It doesn't take a lot of time for these events to happen in the music, and I'm just it just blows my mind every time that I listen to anything that you make, truthfully. But this set was particularly special to me.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Having never seen you perform live and only ever hearing your recordings, this was this was inspirational. Your set was inspirational. I don't know, like I think your use of that CD DJ deck is something I haven't seen, and I think that's something that always fascinates me. I feel like tape decks were that for me like 2 years ago, and I was like, oh dude, people are using tape decks. And then like it took me like 3 years to get one, and I'm like totally like not forward thinking in any of this. But you are kind of ahead of the curve right now, I think, creatively, Derek. And I'm saying that with no expertise and little to no experience at all. But to me, I am inspired. I am blown away. And one thing that your set made me think about was, so we have a dog that is really yippy. His name's Axel. He barks a lot. We had a trainer come out for Axel, and your set didn't make me think of Axel at all. I want to make sure, like I preface. There's a point to this. So, but Axel, when we had the trainer come out, the trainer said, if you want your dog to understand how to be quiet on command, you have to be able to command it to speak. And that is something that like was absurdly profound for me from a dog trainer that I had only met like twice. That the idea that if you want silence, you have to know how to command noise. You have to know how to create that juxtaposition for someone to understand what silence is. And from your album Suspension and this performance here, it is clear to me that there is this understanding of the need for sound for in order to create this instant nothing. I used that phrase a few times in the chat while we were talking to this, but like I don't know if I've ever felt as harsh of an instant nothing in such a rewarding way as what you can create. And I think it's because of your ability to create these layers and these sounds that I just get so caught up in. And it's like I'm like smiling while falling downstairs. I'm joyfully falling downstairs voluntarily and inviting all of my friends to come fall downstairs with me just so I can hit the bottom of the stairs and lay there and be like, oh man, that was such a unique fall. Yeah, worth it, dude. Worth it. Like I'll never fall down the stairs that way again because next time it'll be different. And that was such an enjoyable tumble. And I just don't think I've ever experienced anything like your music before in such a positive, wonderful way. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate your creativity and your output into the world. I'm curious, as I always am, like where did the idea for the CD DJ, like where did that come, like the DJ deck, where did that come from? I know you said you used it on your album. When did you start doing that? Where'd you get the deck from? Were there any influences with that? Like, walk me through, because that's something I've never seen before. You're the first. You're my first, dude. You're my first. Thank you.
Well, so I got it about a year and a half ago. I think so. One of my favorite musicians is I think it's pronounced Rabbit, but it's spelled Rabit. He runs the Halcyon Vale label, which is like one of my favorite labels. I've read this like I don't remember if it was an interview with him, and they were like sort of reviewing his live set. He'll play like these. I never really got into dance or anything like that, but he'll play like these dance sets, using the typical 2 CD decks, and but this person was talking about him using it as instead like an instrument. Instead of just like a playback thing. And so that kind of triggered something. And I really like, I think his name is Christian Barclay. He's the dude that like he'll mess with vinyl and like cut it up and tape it back together and do like all this weird stuff with it. But I don't have a ton of vinyl, but I have a ton of CDs. So, and then the other thing, you can like load audio files into it with a flash drive. So that was I think when I read that interview with Rabbit, that was like, oh, I can kind of do stuff like that, because I used to build stuff in Max MSP and then Max for Live that would kind of emulate that. I always kind of found myself emulating that idea of like, here's a sample, like how do I play it rather than just kind of mangle it. And so I like being able to, use my hands to kind of mess with the pitch of it or find different spots on the sample and like that.
Very tactile. Yeah. The performance was very tactile. It wasn't a lot of, and again, I think this is what I appreciate about the performance so much, was like, there'll be times where I'll like hit a button in my set, and then like I'll watch a video back and I'm like playing with my fucking like wedding ring, because like it's like, all right, now I got like 3 seconds before like I do another thing. But like it's like, what a fucking boring thing to watch. But like I was just like, what is he pressing now? What is he doing? What is he dragging? What is he just the urgency of touch and the concept of touch and contact is very real in your performance and in your album. And it's very, very interesting to me. Please play live when COVID is over, and I will be there.
Yeah, I mean, I second that. I had this drum teacher who would talk about, he would say like, yeah, like some people in free jazz like hide behind the free jazz idea and they don't know how to play the blues. But like watching you do what you just did was, I agree with Teddy, like that tactile element and just seeing that, like, I mean, you have a calm demeanor when you perform, but it seemed to me to be very clear that you knew exactly what you were doing. And I think when you watch like really great musicians, and I think this applies to multiple instruments or all instruments, like you see that it, like, people make it look easy, but in fact, like it's a long time that you put in mastering, and that amazes me to watch. Like, so what I was talking about earlier, like those, it's really those transitions that you have, like it's just such mastery over all of that, and that's what I think is so cool. And like Teddy said, like, yeah, I'm ready to go to the live show. So
I before we keep going with more music, I just had one question. Is this a piece that you're working on? Is something that you had already made? Is this improvised? What's the story behind that piece of music that you just performed?
So I'm kind of working on a 2-song kind of EP thing. And that's mostly bits from them. I kind of stopped working on it like a week or so ago. It's a lot of classical guitar and field recordings. So I haven't messed with them for maybe like a week until you messaged me last week asking me to get a set ready. And so I was like, well, I have all this stuff. And then I just started messing with it and trying to piece it together in different ways.
Yeah, because while Phil was saying that, the tactile and the mastery of it sound both that there was some preparation done, but it sounded so spontaneous from the heart at the same time that it just, again, goes with the juxtaposition of the sound. It sounds like there's both cohesion and non-cohesion, and they work so well together. I just loved it so much.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Can we hear something else? I mean, to me, that sounded good enough that I'm just ready to log off. But we have two other amazing musicians here, so
I'll go next. I did say in the comments, if you scroll through the chat there, Derek, I was like, I think we should just fade out, like just just fade out to the credits here at some point. I always have dreams of that, of just like if anybody's watching this, like anybody that actually watches this, just kind of like actually doing that once, just being like, gotcha, motherfucker. Like, we're just like, nope, you don't get 2 more sets. Like, this one was so good, we just fade out. So I would have loved to fade out there, but yeah, I'll throw down some tunes. Does that sound good?
as the belly feeds.
Am I back?
Yes.
Okay. Hi everybody.
That was awesome, Teddy. That was
That
awesome.
was incredible.
No words. I typed in the chat. I don't know how to describe what just happened. It was just too beautiful. I cried. I smiled. I felt all the feelings. I was amazed. I was blown away. Everything you did was perfect. I just don't even. I don't even. That's it. But one thing I will say, all right, I'll make an actual like Etherwaves comment here. Many times throughout the episodes, this is episode 7, I feel like I overanalyze music. I've talked about this before. And once again, it took me to a place where I'm not thinking about how. I just live in that moment. And that moment was beautiful. It was just perfect.
Thank you.
I also want to, before you say anything, I don't want to know what you were singing about, because I think, based on a hint you gave in a text chain earlier, that it might have to do with a book that I am currently reading, and I don't want you to spoil the book. Am I right, or am I off base?
Let me see if there's any. I don't think there's any spoilers. There's no plot points here. But yes, it is in reference to the prophets,
which we have talked about on Etherwaves before, and that's one of the reasons I'm reading it. And I was maybe I was, I don't know, maybe that tainted my listening process, but like obviously that would impact how I would hear that piece if it has anything to do with that book. So could you say about that? And like,
yeah, there's a lot of sadness in that book. It's a beautiful book. It is one of the most lyrical, most poetic things I've ever read in my entire life. Robert Jones Jr. is an author that is going to go down in history.
Yeah, because that is his debut book, right? That's his
He spent 14 years. It came out on January 5th, and it is the most moving piece of literature I've ever read. I mean, I'm not going to do it any justice at all, but the setting of the book is kind of chattel slavery. in Mississippi, and it's about love. It's about finding love in that moment. It's about the fear and hatred that existed in that time and the time building up to that. And it is about the kind of decimation of lives that knew that love is love and knew that anyone can love anyone, and that's all good and it's all beautiful, and kind of the narrative of the desecration of that. And through the lens of chattel slavery and the multiple members on this plantation and the enslaved people. So yeah, there's a lot there. I sang from a few perspectives that reference the book in this, mostly about there's mostly references to slave ships, and and I did use a lot of words that Robert Jones Jr. uses in the book, because it's just so hard not to be inspired to want to sing them and put tonal expressions with them, because they elicit such visceral emotions. So yeah, like talking about someone being fuel for an engine of an ungodly kind. Those are his words that I sang tonight, and just the thought of that, like someone fueling an engine of an ungodly kind. And so yeah, that's I posted something about this song, like a little snippet of this, and Robert Jones Jr., his Instagram account is the son of Baldwin, and he actually reshared my Instagram story, and I mean, it made my day, because this guy is such a prolific author, and all I can hope is that what I did tonight made him proud, makes people go get this book, makes people go look this absolute I don't know, just genius in literature, more well known. That was kind of the hope in this piece tonight.
Derek, what'd you think?
It was extremely beautiful. But I was shocked many times. Well, not shocked, but surprised, like very pleasantly surprised throughout multiple points. Like, especially the first one, and maybe the biggest one, was when he started singing. I don't know. I didn't notice the microphone in front of you for some reason. And then all of a sudden, that effect you had on your voice just like fit perfectly. I'm really excited to hear it in stereo. Yeah, it was extremely emotional for me. There's multiple times where it felt, I could like physically feel it, especially like in my chest, like sort of like welling up. Yeah, other than that though, like finding words to describe that, I don't know, but I did think that the lighting helped a lot, actually. Like seriously lended to, it was just, to me, fit like the aesthetic perfectly.
That's a new little video synth that I got. I got the Critter and Guitari Icy, which is, I'll switch over real quick and kind of show where it's sitting. It is a beautiful, beautiful piece of gear. This little guy right here controlled all of that lighting. And I have a little projector set up behind my computer over there that was just kind of like flooding light on me. But you just plug a 1/4 inch audio out from your mixer into Icy, and then I just have an RCA yellow jack going into an old projector that I have over there, and it's completely audio reactive. There's a bunch of dials here for parameters, but you can also send MIDI signals to it to have it be audio triggered, but it takes up this amount of space, one plug, and it is just a breathtaking piece of gear by Critter and Guitari. And I got it in the mail today, and I was like, all right, I'm going to see if I had like 20 minutes to test it out. And that was like a stock setting, like a preset that was reacting to the audio. And I dialed in a few things to like change colors when I played certain things. But that was it. So it is well worth the money, and just very inspiring visually. Like for anybody that enjoys kind of synesthetic experiences where it's like visual paired with audio that can kind of like feed into one another to elicit reactions. Which one of my favorite artists of all time, Lawsill, is like a master of doing that. And so I've always wanted to do stuff like that, but don't know how to do it as a singular person and play all these instruments at once and get some lights going that react. It's just, and I don't like using a computer when I perform. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just lose creativity when I sit in front of a computer. So to have like a little box that can just sit here on my desk and take care of all of that for me is pretty remarkable.
So was that all hardware, like audio wise?
Oh yeah, that was all a hardware performance.
I'm also very surprised by that too, because there was just so much going on.
Yeah.
So many layers and everything, and none of it was. I mean, I've definitely seen a lot of people play sets that are like, very anti-computer, and they're all hardware, and it's extremely boring. You know what I mean? And I've seen it go the other way too, but it was just like the amount of things happening and just the way that they just seem to kind of come in at the perfect time, and all these like dense layers. It just surprising to me how complex it was, and there was no computer involved at all. I thought it was incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, I sample. I use like an SP404. There was like some bird samples.
Yeah, that was a nice touch too.
Yeah, and I just had like a singular note droning at the beginning, so I could get the pitch in my ear, because I wanted to open with vocals, which is something I've never done before. But I needed just kind of like a droning high note, and so I just sampled a high note that just played throughout the entire set. And then just did a couple vocal layers on the TC Helicon Voice Live Touch 2, which is a beautiful. If anybody wants to do anything with their vocals, like I recorded 2 vocal tracks with each one had 6 different vocal effects on it, with different parameter locks on those vocal effects, and I was able to layer them within the same loops and then reverse all of them.
Yeah, I didn't know you had the Helicon. That's an amazing piece of gear.
Oh, dude, game changer. Yeah. Game changer to have a 12-part chorus singing behind you locked into a scale and a key, and to be able to pick how many women and how many men and how many high pitch and low pitch and how many like, dude, you basically just get to like, it's like going to, it's like being on the playground and being like, I'm going to pick my all-star kickball team that's going to stand behind me and sing beautifully. Like you just get to like dial it in and be like, okay, now I'm going to sing this note and everybody else follow me. And it's a really powerful piece of gear. If anybody's trying to sing live and add some layers and textures to live vocal performance, even if you're not a confident vocalist, because I'm not a confident vocalist. I'm not a vocalist at all, really. It's just like, I've always dreamt of expressing myself through lyrics. I like writing and I like singing, but I've never really had confidence to sing ever until I got the TC Helicon. So it just makes the simplest notes sound so beautiful, and I can't recommend it enough to people. The TC Helicon Voice Live Touch 2.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos on it. It looks amazing.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Well, yeah, thanks guys for all the words.
Incredible. I think we are all like kind of speechless, and it's hard to even say anything, as everyone has already said. But there was definitely a heaviness and a gravity to it all, and intense emotion, and I loved it, Teddy. So thank you.
Yeah.
And so it falls on you, Phil, the job to follow that. No pressure.
Right.
No pressure. We love everything you do. So
we love Phil.
We love Phil.
We love Phil. Hey, Phil.
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. What, dude? Question number one: what time signature were you in? Those drums.
5E5.
Yeah.
Was there some little debate going on there?
No, there was no debate. There were just some
No
guesses.
debate. We were all 5/4. I think we all agreed on 5/4.
What
C
key
minor,
were you in?
C minor.
F major.
Oh,
Which is a C minor though, right?
E minor.
E minor.
Phil,
Yep.
that built really well. It was a wonderful piece to sit back and have a beer to. And I was saying, maybe the antithesis of sitting back and having a beer to that, I would have loved to run to that, because there was this kind of like constant build up and beat to it, but there was also like a reckoning with inner demons that I feel like I have when I go running, where it's just kind of like, how did you get this out of shape? Get out of me, you inner demons. And yeah, I feel like you put that into song, and I thank you for that.
Well, it's crazy. Like the background in my shot here is from yesterday. I went hiking in the woods, and I imagine that snow's probably gone after today. But just trying to stay physically active during this pandemic and not spend so much time in front of the computer screen. Etherwaves is destroying me. But no, like I don't know, like if there is any connection between that, like sort of physicality, but I wanted to put drums in that piece because I wanted to bop around a little bit and, tap into my drummer roots. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Getting physical.
I just had one thing to comment on. I have a struggle. Phil, you and I are both, I would say, for at least for the show, mostly Eurorack performers. I have a really hard time finding a way to get good distortion out of my voices, and that distortion felt so perfect. Really, it was a really good tone throughout the piece. But one thing that kept like me going, at least on my mindset, was I think that you are a true synthesis in the true sense of the word, like the true patching that like has been happening for generations of synthesis. This you get traditional tones out of your music that are really organic, really good sounding throughout, but they sound like a good synthesis sound. Like we talk about Chiani a lot, right? That like her sound, and just like true tones that are amazing. That always impresses me.
Well, yeah, I gotta thank you, and I gotta give a shout out to Chris at Chris Kaiser, who works for Noise Engineering. That distortion that you were talking about earlier is from the Seca Ruina, and I was so excited. I got that in December, and then like something was, I probably messed something up. I probably did something wrong, but I had to send it back to them, and just got it back. Well, like a week ago or 10 days ago or something. And Chris wrote a handwritten note and fixed it and sent me a new, working module. And I'm really stoked. So that's why I was trying to like feature that today. So I'm really glad you noticed that. Thank you. It's a beautiful.
That was great.
Yeah, I was gonna say I loved all the tones. And I loved how like the whole thing felt like it was sort of like going into a tunnel, like a reverb on like everything towards the end. I thought that was really cool. And I loved the 5/4, especially the drums. Were they like strictly 5/4?
Yeah, so using the Arturia key step to do the sequencing, and I like compose the sequence first, and then used Pamela's new workout to divide the fives. So like I wasn't playing any rests on the sequencer, just straight notes, sets of fives, with two A's and a B section. And then it's cool. Like I've never used it before, but I've always noticed that Pamela's has a divide by five function. And so I was like, shit, like,
And the 2.5 too.
I could make it a 1. Yeah, right. No, they have some weird math shit going on. And so I was making the Moog hit the 1, but then like adjusting the envelope, to see like, do I want an attack on the 1? Do I want some, a slow attack and that sort of thing. But yeah, as far as the drums are concerned, I like to use Pamela's once again for like randomness in terms of random skips, and then also marbles and Euclidean circles version 2 were all kind of like in the mix in various ways. And then like VCAs, like when I first got modular stuff, I was like, what the hell's a VCA? I need mixers. Like I knew what a mixer was, and like, oh, I got to get my levels up and be able to like balance shit out, and didn't have any concept of what a VCA was. And yeah, so there's also a dope for dual ADSR in there too, with some VCA stuff going on and envelopes and whatnot, little whippy things.
Phil, what was your favorite part of your set? What was the part that was like most enjoyable?
It probably wasn't very noticeable, but like the Mutant bass drum I actually like for the first time like tried to utilize the CV inputs. So there is CV on the distortion. So the Mutant bass drum is cool because you have two outputs, one for like a clean bass drum and another for a distorted one. So I was using Batumi to modulate the distortion part. So like add little accenty kind of things and bursts of distortion. So that may have also been like contributing to the nastiness of the sound to go with Secca Ruina.
And I will comment on that, because even though there was distortion, in no point I felt nastiness. It was just like a very controlled distortion. It never felt noisy. It never felt like it's overstepped its boundaries. It just felt like a really, really good tone throughout.
Yeah, and Euclidean circles was sending a gate to Basimus Itertus Alter for like some of those kind of snare hits, but I feel like that Euclidean rhythm kind of like provides a stability in the music to ground the song or whatever. I mean, I guess it's not really a song by any means, but a good jogger for Teddy. And
dude, I think it's a jogger. Song. I think it's a song. I think we all perform songs tonight.
Don't you have to sing for it to be a song? Otherwise, it's a track.
No. I think that was a song. Absolutely. It's a song I would jog to, but it's not exclusively a song that I would only jog to. Like, I'm not like shitting on your song by saying I'd go for a run to it. There's a lot of great music that I would run around to. I'm also like a terrible runner, so really it just means your song motivated me.
I guess that's my like insecure way of saying that like I don't know how to begin and end these things, and that's one of the things I really admired about what Derek did tonight, and listening to the Formants record, albeit in the shower. Like, hey, the shower is like the one place where nobody messes around with me. So, but yeah, like in all seriousness, it's like that is always a struggle. Like the bookends of the piece. Like I don't know how to do that. And just to harken back to seeing Igor for the first time, it's like cool because you really had a command of the room, and I don't know if I can speak about a beginning or an end to everything. It just happened, and I loved every moment. So,
And I think I'm gonna get in a tangent here, but do you have plans of growing or shrinking the system?
yeah, I mean, since it's winter, being fire season. By fire, I mean like wood burning stove, not like we're out in California or something. But yeah, I have like an upstairs system, so I think having having the current setup downstairs, like I think I'm gonna just kind of stick to that. But maybe in future Etherwaves episodes, I may go for a smaller setup, but I think that's also designed to like be able to, take it on on a trip, like having the pallet case and the smaller system upstairs is really nice to just kind of go somewhere quickly, and also like limit myself. And, if I'm playing with you guys or whatever, having the ability to just quickly set up really appeals to me. I've come to find, like I did when I was starting to drum, that having a 10-piece double bass drum kit with a rack and like 7 or 8 cymbals and 2 floor toms is stupid. And I don't want to deal with that. So yeah, I don't want to take a huge system out. And I hate dealing with cables. That's one of the things, like, it's nice to be a drummer. You don't have to deal with like a bunch of cables and power and all that stuff and worry about that kind of thing.
I love cable management. My power supplies. My power supplies are clean. Like, as a drummer, I was like, whatever, dude. Now I'm like, I want to rip all of this stuff out of here and make sure that everything's zip tied perfectly. And like, I'm like Googling how to manage cables in a rack case. And I'm like, oh, I get it now. Okay. I get the non-sexy being sexy. I get it.
Yeah. Speaking of smaller systems, I want to do a shout out to Kickstarter Fold Gaze, our good friend of the show, Ringhoff, developing a aluminum sheet that gets shipped to you, and you fold it into an Eurorack 84 HP case with rails and everything. And the goal is for it to be a super affordable, you do it yourself, kind of a no power type case. You get your own power module and kind of take it from there. Just wanted to shout out because I think that campaign is going pretty well.
Yeah, I hope it does succeed, and I think it will. And it was funny because when I looked at the campaign, I saw in there that he said, like, this is kind of like the IKEA of Eurorack. And then get the piece,
sure,
put it together, and
I love it though. Like, it makes me think about, because to me, I'm like, dude, I don't want to pay a shit ton for the case. Like, the case isn't going to make the noise, but the case is also like essential for travel, and it's essential to power it, and it's blah 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 blah. But cases are fucking expensive. Cases are just as expensive as the modules themselves, if not more, depending on the case. And so, like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, to me, when I saw that, I was like, okay, as a non-modular musician, I could get behind this, and it may inspire me to get one and then go down the rabbit hole of modular, which I really don't want to go down. And I'm kind of trying to save money, and I know I would just get gassed. I know I would just get bit by the gas bug if I went into modular. But it sounds so good. You guys do such a good job making it sound so good that I'm just kind of like, all right. Fold case, you may twist my arm here, and I may need to get a fold case and bust it out on the show. Maybe I don't know where I would put fold case. Maybe I would put it like here or something. I don't know. I don't know where I would put it. The idea behind the monolith is no fold case.
Well, Teddy, your comment, I don't think this is just limited to modular, but coming into modular and looking at all the forums, like, I was really impressed with how friendly people were. And, you know, I was very quickly humbled and put in a certain place by the community in a good way when I was told about things like cases and utility modules and things that aren't like, giving you an instant wow factor. And I think that's really important, like to acknowledge that like there's actually like a lot of technical stuff that goes into this that you need to know about that some people might think is dry, but it really pays off to kind of learn about that stuff. And I'm just barely getting into it, but
if we could do a quick whip around before we close out, what is like a non-sexy thing in your gear or in your studio or in your live setup that you're like, I hate having to buy this thing, and it's not like a cool thing at all, but like it makes life so much easier, and I kind of love that I have it, but like I don't know why I waited so long not to get it. What's that, Igor?
Moats. So you plug one in here, then you have 5 outs of the same thing. It's the ugliest piece of thing that you can have in your rack. And it works like wonder. It's amazing. So you send a clock in, you have 5 repetitions of the clock out. It sits uncomfortably above the modules. You cannot put your finger through it because you have so many cables coming out of it, but it's worth it. What do you think, Derek? What's your useless must-have?
Your useless must-have.
Actually, I think it might be this. It's a XLR to 1/4 inch.
Dude, that's such a sexy, such an unsexy plug. It's so clunky, but it's perfect.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. It barely fits on some things.
Yeah.
But it's definitely come in like very handy a few times.
Yes.
Dude, I think mine. I think honestly, like, I hate buying instrument cables. I absolutely hate buying instrument cables because it's like they're never the right fucking size. They're either too short or too long, or I need them to be like one of them is right angle and one of them is straight, or I need 2 right angle. Dude, no matter how many fucking filters you do on any site, Amazon, Sweetwater, anything, I can't ever get the right instrument cable. And I hate buying instrument cables so much. When I get them though, and they're right, I'm like, oh yes. And it's like, this is the perfect length, and everything fits, and like, because you have to get like right angles for both of the modal things to fit this way. Otherwise you have to leave a gap between them. Because all the plugs are like on top here. And so you have to get right angle plugs for them. And so like getting the right plugs for and like power adapter plugs too, like little like, dude, all that stuff, like it just like harshes my mellow. And but I love when I get them and it works out.
Well, I have an answer that I think Igor will love. And when as I said earlier, like was first getting into modular, like the friendliness of the community was really impressive to me and found it really welcoming. And there's a guy, and I just happened to stumble upon this guy's videos. His name is Robin Vincent, and he goes by Molten Modular. And he was talking in a video about like, what do you need to do when you first get into modular? And one of the things he said in his video was talking about these screws, the Bafaco Knurlies. And they're a little pricey, but yeah. They have like a little grip to them. And it's like, it's not, well, this camera's not
worth every penny.
Totally worth every penny, but it's like sandpaper, it's got like a grippiness to it, and you can kind of use your fingers to, you don't need to like get all crazy with a screwdriver. So love those. Highly recommend them.
Yes, agreed. And always keep a brush near you, a makeup brush to clean your synth. Yeah. Closing thoughts. I do want to thank Derek for hanging out with us for what's getting close to be a couple of hours and making beautiful, beautiful music. And I don't know. I just so stoked that you're here, Derek. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you very much for having me. It was my pleasure. Y'all had great sets. It was really awesome to watch.
Really nice to get to know you, man. And
yeah, y'all too.
I mean, I could hang for hours longer and just pick your brain about individual tracks on your album Suspension. And yeah, I just couldn't appreciate having you here more. And yeah, it was really, really fun getting to hear you talk about your stuff and seeing you perform live. And I look forward to the live. It's like when you say you like someone, it's like, dude, I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see you live, dude.
Yeah, thank you so much.
But yeah, hit us up if you guys have any comments or anything. We'd love to hear more music. We'd love to, if people are interested in being on the show, shoot us an email at etherwavespodcast at gmail.com. And thank you to everybody that's watching and following along and listening to our crazy rants and our weird sets. And yeah, thanks again to Derek for being here. So.